morning, folks. Welcome back to the farm. As you can see, she's a frosty morning this morning. Lots of fog, like it's crazy. Like, of course, you can see the chicken house, but from the kitchen window this morning, I couldn't even see the barn, which is just wild. It's just thick like pea soup. Anyways, I got a bucket of treats here for the chickens. With that done, I got to run some molasses out to the sheep. Maybe spend a little time with Everest, our little sheepdog there. See if we can get him to start responding to some behavioral cues. Actually forgot yesterday to add the gallon of water that I was going to add to my compost pile in there. But I did just check the temperature and it's about 12 degrees Celsius. So it's just starting to heat up a little bit. So I'm going to get a little bit of water, sprinkle it over there, restack everything. The pile right now, you can reach in, everything's fluffy and crumbly. And if you really want your compost pile to grow some heat, you need to get it to a point where you can actually ball it up, create a ball, and then just once you open your hand, it should then kind of start to crumble a little bit, but not just be all flaky and go everywhere. So for those that are wondering about this process and thinking that maybe I'm a little bit crazy for putting water on a compost pile inside the chicken house, you're not entirely wrong. I mean, it is a process you have to be gentle with. You can't just come in all aggressive and soak the compost pile down. That's why I've been working at it slowly over a period of days until I get that moisture level just right. Because if I just come in there and dump 20 gallons of water on that compost pile, mix that with chicken poop and see what you get. You get a whole bunch of ammonia, right? And it's just nasty. So you got to be slow and very conscientious that you don't gas your chickens. Once you get it right though, man, you can throw an incredible amount of heat out of that pile. Keep everything toasty warm in there during, weather like this. I prefer the composting approach, not only because it gives us compost for the garden, but it's also much more natural. And, you think in terms of like, okay, you put a space heater in the chicken house, and not only do you have a big fire risk, but also if you have a power outage or something like that, you go from whatever the temperature is in your chicken house, say it's 10 degrees above or something like that, maybe 5 degrees above, to whatever the exterior ambient temperature is. Maybe that's minus 30, maybe that's minus 50. That's pretty doggone hard on the birds, right? Whereas this, you can have all the power outages you want. It doesn't affect it. And if the compost pile cools for whatever reason, because maybe it's, the oxygen is depleted or something like that, or the moisture level gets depleted, pile cools over a period of days, so you don't have a big shock to the system, right? Anyway, side note, we were in Grand Prairie yesterday, took Charlotte in for gymnastics, and it's always interesting because you meet lots of different people. Anyways, I overheard a conversation, two fellas standing behind me where we were at gymnastics, and the one guy lives in town, was saying his water bill was $125 a month. And the other guy was like, oh, we don't pay, our water's free. We have a well, our water's free. And I thought, that's just ludicrous. So the cost to drill a well is like 30 grand now. It's gone up, it's got crazy high. So like 30 grand to drill a well. You think you amortize that over 30 years, which is the expected life cycle of a drilled well. So $1,000 a year times that by, or divide that by 12 months is like 33 per month, right? That's just to have the privilege of just having the well itself. That's never mind, the ongoing power cost, your lift costs, basically to get your water to surface, your maintenance cost, shock chlorination, anything like that. So your pump shits the bed once every 10 years, you blow a hole in your tubing, or you have a short in your electrical circuit, something like that. So make no mistake, just because you have a standing piece of infrastructure that you paid for once doesn't mean thereafter it's free. No, you should be amortizing that over the life expectancy of whatever that piece of infrastructure is. Because when it shits the bed in 25 or 30 years and you have to pay for another one, you could be damn sure it's not free. Anyways, now I got that little rant out of the way. I'm just on my way to the tack shed because we've got all our nieces over right now. Not all the nieces, but the young ones anyways. And they want to go to toboggan ride behind this Skidoo. And so we got this one toboggan, one GT. And that's fun and everything, but if one of them quits, I don't want to haul one empty. And there's nothing I hate worse than tying and untying knots on the back of the snowmobile. So I'm going to see if I can find a good carabiner out here in the tack shed. And I can just unclip it and drop it and go. Oh, we should have some because one of my wife's auction wins a few years back was this cargo net down here. So there should be some carabiners on that. I'll take a look here. Oh, I think that's the answer. I tell you, it's gonna be right uptown. Now, so we had all this snow. Then of course we had a whole bunch of freezing rain as well. So that's gonna mean is that top layer of crusty ice that's gonna come up and want to cut your eyeballs out. So the other day I was in town. Canadian Tire had a sale on helmets. I don't have a snowmobile helmet. I had an old dirt bike helmet, but the mice got in and chewed the inside liner out of that. I was just wearing that with my goggles. But anyways, I picked up a new helmet here. So I thought it was right uptown because it's fully enclosed. And not only do I have the outside visor, I've also got this Top Gun visor inside. So this is going to be just as pretty as when I started. This old girl's pretty doggone icy. Let's see if she'll start even. Yep. I got all the kids froze to their core now. Kind of look like Encino Man coming out of Sean Astin's backyard. But anyways, run for a cup of tea here and then we better finish off our daily work. Absolutely disgusting time of year when the bloody sheep, they can't just go to the bale and eat on the outside. No, they got to be inside the round bale in order, yeah, just green and brown and all the colors of the hay bale rainbow. So I'm just over here at the molasses bulk tank, just filling up my bucket. I did some math here. I got 77 days worth of round bales left, and then I got to switch to feeding squares. But that'll actually work out good because that'll be pretty much right in the middle of lambing season. The girls will be in the barn anyways. That's April 2nd, right? So it's pretty much right smack dab in the middle for us. And so far, as far as we go, we did the math right on getting the right amount of hay. Fingers crossed, doesn't get too carried away, but of course we're adding this molasses here, right? So that's kind of handy because for every pound of molasses they eat, that's a pound of hay they don't eat. So keep supplementing with that. So I had a bit of lunch there and I'm headed back over to the lambing pen with a couple of nails. I gotta fix a bit of fence, so I'm gonna tighten some barbed wire with a nail and then hay wire it up. And then the page wire too. So on one side where the little sheepdog's been living, he's been kind of jumping on the wire a little bit, pulling it down a bit. So I want to get that hay wired up to the top row of barbed wire, put some tension on that. And then on the other side where it's just open to the yard, the same kind of thing has happened, but that's just from ice and snow being up against the fence. And then of course the sheep walk there and it just kind of pulls the wire down a little bit. We notice the same thing out in the big field with the buffalo wire every year. So I'll get it all patched up. I don't want anybody ending up somewhere they shouldn't be. So a little twist in the wire like that with a nail, and then of course a piece of hay wire on the end just to stop it from coming undone. That's all we really need to do to tension that wire. I mean, you can use a stick or anything for that, but this isn't gonna rot or nothing like that, so it should stay right where it's at. Looks like my sister-in-law brought me a whole 6 or 7 pumpkins, so that's a nice little treat for the sheep. We're gonna toss one over and you can see how much they love them. Pumpkin seeds are anecdotally kind of a natural dewormer. I don't know if it works good or not, but I mean, we'll give it to them. It's never gonna hurt them. They love pumpkin. It's absolutely great for them. So we'll give it to them, but on that whole thing about natural dewormers versus, you know, say the Ivomec or something like that. Well, I'm 100% going to go with Ivomec. I think the reality is that if an animal needs treatment, it actually genuinely needs treatment. And if it doesn't need treatment, well, you know, a lot of this stuff is preventative measures, probably isn't really doing much to begin with. There you go, have half. There's the other half. I'll just go to town on that. Good. Tasty little treat for Sunday dinner.